This is every Chinese episode viewed part 3. Boy, that's the intro. First in this part is Cinemaniacs, where Buster and Babs go to the Acme Multiplex Theater and see hilarious movie parodies and things. In this episode, the wraparound sequences with them going to the theater are in the actual shorts instead of separate like in most other episodes. So, anyway, first is Superbabs, an obvious Superman parody, featuring Babs trying to save Acme Acres from the horrifyingly bald Lex Luthor parody played by Monty, who's horrifyingly bald, as I previously mentioned. This episode is incredibly amazing and hilarious. An incredibly amazing and hilarious 9 out of 10 classic. Next is Duck Trek, a Star Trek parody. It's only a 7 out of 10. I didn't really get much out of this since I haven't seen anything Star Trek related, but it's still decently enjoyable. Next is Paedena Jones and the Secret of Life, featuring Buster as Paedena Jones trying to discover the secret of life. I didn't really get much out of this since I haven't seen any Indiana Jones things, but you can still kind of sort of understand what's going on if you know what Indiana Jones is. 8 out of 10, whole episode, 8 out of 10, great. Next is You Ask For, where Plucky makes a machine to read the viewer's minds to see who stars in the shorts. The wraparound scene for the third short is actually in the short instead of separate, but not for the other ones for some reason. Anyway, this was the 4th episode produced. It was the first episode produced animated by Wang, and the animation looks really crusty and cheap. It doesn't really distract from the quality of the shorts. You can actually tell that something is attempting to being animated. So, there's that. First in this episode is Debutante Devil, where Dizzy has to eat Babs for a class assignment, and Babs says that teachers might be more classy. It is incredibly amazing and hilarious slapstick antics and comedies. So overall, 9 out of 10 classic. The next short, Sleight of Hare, features Buster as a magician, and then his boss ends up quitting on him because of Monty's incredible horribleness, and then Buster decides to host the party himself. Antics, and so this one is another 9 out of 10. And finally, Duck Out of Luck, where Plucky gets turned into King Kong per the viewer's request. It doesn't actually happen at first. There's some random Plucky getting tortured antics in the beginning, but once you actually turn into King Kong, the short is great. 8 out of 10. Overall, episode 9 out of 10. Recommended. Boy. Next is Gangbusters, featuring Monty and his gang stealing the slushie machine. They blame it on Buster. There's hilarious court and jail antics, and the highly acclaimed characters of Rocky and Muggsy make an appearance. This episode is 7 out of 10. This episode is animated by Kennedy Cartoons, and this is the episode that was hinted at twice in the previous part with the amazing Glenn Kennedy animated rap sequence. So that's great for all. Unfortunately, Go-Go doesn't rap, but he is there. So, yeah. Well, actually he does, but not by himself. That's not as good as him just rapping by himself, which would be amazing and worthy of the National Film Registry. Also, I think I talked about this in the previous part, but on some Kennedy Cartoons episodes, there's barely any Glenn Kennedy stuff, maybe like little bits and pieces. But there's like a huge chunk of the episode that has like a bunch of it for minutes on end. Great for all. Anyway, this episode, 7 out of 10. As kind of horrible pacing. I think it would be better if they stuck to a central story instead of it just be jumping around from Buster being in court to him being in jail, and then the whole entire rap dance sequence, which saves this episode because of its incredible National Film Registry worthy of greatness. So, yeah, that's it. This one, Wake Up Call of the Wild, is another one where the wraparounds are in the shorts themselves instead of separate. And in the wraparounds, Buster and Babs explain the elusive and mysterious Call of the Wild. And in the first short, Plucky's called the wild voice in the market with some of his uncivilized duck brothers and sisters, probably. Migrant Mallard is an extremely hilarious 9 out of 10. Also, a couple parts of Walkmans are mentioned and remind me of a Darkwing Duck episode with a Squawkman. I have no idea what the episode was, and I'm too lazy to look it up. Anyway, after leading off with this great of a show, you think it's going to be good. Well, whoops, because of the crappy Concord Condor Crap short feature next. It's a jungle out there, featuring Concord escaping the zoo while being pursued by the highly acclaimed, great, and not annoying at all character of Arnold the Pitbull. And the short it wasn't really bad, like it had bad gags or anything. It just was brilliant gags, but horrible pacing. You can't even tell what's even going on, and there's no gags. Maybe there was, but I was just so bored by the incredible horrendousness of the short that I wasn't paying attention. And finally, the episode is CAT-Astrophy, where football fans like he's living in the prehistoric era, and ends up just showing Hampton's kitchen while he's making something. And in the end, Hampton's going to be chasing football around for some reason. At least it's better than the last one because you can actually tell there's some sort of story and gags. Just that it's not really executed in a way that is good. So, anyway, the episode overall is a 7 out of 10. Mostly cured by the first one because that's the only one that's actually good and worthy of it being watched more than once. Next is Buster and the Wolverine, featuring Buster, Plucky, Babs, Hampton, Furball, and Sweetie representing a musical instrument, being chased by Wolverine, which also represents a musical instrument. This episode is apparently based on something called Peter and the Wolf, which I know nothing about. This episode is an incredibly amazing 8 out of 10. What makes this episode even more amazing is that it's animated by Kennedy Cartoons and also has some of the best work from Kennedy Cartoons. So whether that sets some sort of high bar or not, I think might be your opinion. My opinion also. The point is that the episode is an incredibly great 8 out of 10 classic. Next is You Asked For It Part 2, where Buster and Babs pick names out of a jump to see stories from the shorts. And there's a sequel to the first You Asked For It. The first short in this episode is The Wierd Couple, which is an odd couple parody featuring Disney and Hampton. It's an incredibly amazing 10 out of 10 classic of an episode. Next is The Return of the Toxic Adventure, featuring Plucky as a Toxic Adventure again. Attempts to destroy Montana Max's factory, which is polluting the sky with smog, so him and his duck friends are dying. This one is another 10 out of 10 classic and is great like the first Toxic Adventure one. And lastly is Little Cake of Horrors, where Hampton's on a diet and is tempted to bite a chocolate cake, which terrorizes him, so Dizzy eats it in the end, and there's a hilarious laugh track sequence. That one is a 9 out of 10, which it's not as great as the other ones, but it's still great. Overall, the episode is 10 out of 10, and like the previous episode that was also animated by Kennedy, this also features some of the best Kennedy Cartoons animation. So, yeah. Next is Europe in 30 Minutes, where Plucky wins a trip to Europe on a game show and brings Babs and Buster and Hampton along, and then someone is playing to kidnap a prince and princess, so now they have to stop him, and it's a wacky adventure. The actual story part with the villains are not even introduced until 8 minutes in, so yeah, but after that, it's an incredibly amazing and fast-paced episode that is really great and amazing. It's also the second time the Vanderbunnies appear, first appearing in Journey to the Center Vac Makers. That episode is great, and this episode is also great, and that adds to the greatness. This episode is overall 8 out of a possible 10. Next is the Wacko World of Sports, featuring Babs hosting the Wacko World of Sports in each short, and also before each short. This is an ACOM episode, and spoilers, but this episode is really even good. I think that ACOM is more consistently trashy than other studios, since Kennedy Cartoons usually gets great episodes, despite them being seen as the weakest studio. And also, Wayne gets a crappy episode, and believe it or not, but the crappy TMS episode comes later on. ACOM is more consistently trashy with episodes I don't care about. First is Tennis the Menace, featuring Monty playing against Buster, who is a ball boy, and he later comes in as in disguise doing a Swedish accent. So that elevated it from a 5 out of 10 to 6 out of 10. Yeah, the part with Buster and Monty playing tennis, that barely even takes up any of the short, and there's barely even any pacing or gags. So yeah, 6 out of 10. Next is Bleacher Bummer, featuring Dizzy and Furball going to a football game while avoiding the highly acclaimed not undoing at all character of Arnold. What's great about this one is that Furball actually gets a good ending in the end, shared with Dizzy, so yeah, that's great. But overall, like the previous one, there's barely any pacing or gags, and also the title card tricks you because it shows Buster, but he's not even in it, so it is lied. And thankfully, the last word is actually good. It's Miniature Goof, great title, where Buster and Babs go up against the highly acclaimed characters of Logic and Rubella Rat from Perfected Prep, disguised as the Vanderbunnies in a golf game. This episode is an incredibly amazing 9 out of 10, and is the Vanderbunnies' third appearance. Well, this episode is 7 out of 10, mostly saved by the first short. And I just realized that this and Wake Up Call of the Wild have the reverse rating for the first short in this episode, it's a 6 out of 10. But the last short and wake up call was 6 out of 10, so that's extremely hilarious. Next is Rainy Days, featuring Buster and Babs describing what the other characters do on rainy days. This episode is animated by freelance animator / cartoon / graphics limited animation. Anyways, this episode starts off with Rent-A-Friend using Monty using the Rent-A-Friend service. Then he ends up renting Buster. There's incredibly amazing and hilarious antics. This episode, 8 out of 10. Next is Bunny Days, where Babs daydreams while doing chores. It's a 7 out of 10. Not much I can really say about it, well, besides like the basic story. But yeah. And lastly, there's the amazingly titled Foregone Conclusion, where Buster and Babs have a baby seal from the highly acclaimed character of Gotcha Grabmore. This episode is good. It is 8 out of 10. What's great about this episode is that I watched the episode like a billion days ago, but I think it probably has some sort of message about skinning baby seals is wrong, but it actually does it in a way where it's not horrible, and also it doesn't have shitty pacing and barely any jokes and trashy animation. Well, this is animated by freelance, so I guess the animation is kind of trashy, but the trashy animation of the episode that I'm referencing currently just adds to the trashiness. The episode I'm referencing currently is Whale's Tales, which isn't in this part, but the episode is so shitty. Well, Whale's Tales, not this episode. This episode overall is an 8 out of 10. I recommend you watch this, but don't watch Whale's Tales ever in your existence if you value living in existence. Finally, for this part, is Fields of Honey, which I watched a few days before I decided to actually start this marathon. Features Babs wanting a female mentor, so she goes to the film vault at Acme University and discovers the first female WB star. Honey, which is the co-star of Bosco, but they're redesigned to be more dog-like, I guess because the original design was seen as offensive, according to some research I did. Then she builds a whole entire theater thing, and then tries to attract people to the theater, and the cartoons are so incredibly amazing and hilarious. This episode is 9 out of 10, but the episode is kind of historically inaccurate. First of all, the Bosco and Honey cartoons were filled with amazing slapstick comedy and gags. They are kind of just them dancing and singing around and doing nothing. I'm getting this information from the Hit Critic, who for some reason decided to watch every Looney Tunes short ever made, so this will give me this information. But also, this episode is also historically inaccurate in another way also. The episode says that Bosco and Honey's popularity was fading when Porky was introduced, but they last appeared in a Warner Bros. Short in 1935. Then they were bought by MGM and started 8 more cartoons in 1938, and Porky was introduced in 1935, so yeah. Well, actually, correction there. Bosco and Honey last appeared in 1933. I think I should have actually read my notes before doing this, but I'm too lazy to record it. Whoops. Anyway, this episode is incredibly amazing. 9 out of 10, and yeah. Anyway, coming up next is Concord Condor causing Monty and Babs to get married, a crappy TMS episode, and also a Batman Plucky parody. So look out for that. Also, Plucky and Babs and Buster get transported back to the caveman era, and also Dinosaur Falcon in the same episode. So yeah. Until part 4, bye.